Hello, today I'm gonna explaining the guitar part of Lark and Ciel's You Gotta Run. First, I will explain the tones that will be used, then I will give a slow performance and an explanation of how to play each part. Let's move on to explaining the tone. First, let's talk about the backing sound. In the amp section at the top of the screen, a Marshall Plexi is selected. As you can see in the picture, the gain and EQ are set to a crunchish setting, with the bass suppressed and the highs brought out a little. The overdrive at the bottom increases the volume and boosts the amp. As for overdrive types, I think center type or less quirky tube screamer type would be a good match. Next is the guitar solo sound. The amp and odd settings are the same as the backing. In addition, a booster and delay are added to increase the volume. The effect of the delay will vary depending on the equipment you use, so please use the images as a guide only. Finally, a clean sound. The amp is a Vox AC30 type with an additional chorus effect. I think this is a standard chorus clean with no unusual settings. The chorus values vary depending on the equipment, so please use these as a guide only. That's all for the setup. Next we'll move on to an explanation of how to play, followed by a slow performance followed by an explanation of each key point. In this video, we use a power chord with a 5th root, which is a B power chord on the 5th string, 2nd fret, and an F on the 6th string, 2nd fret, to explain how to play a song in regular tuning. In terms of playing technique, by increasing the speed at which you pick the 5th and 6th strings, you can aim for a sound with a lower bottom and less sluggish impression even with a 6-string guitar. This is also a power chord with a fifth root. I think it's good to add a bit of a slide to create momentum. Be careful of the fluctuations in rhythm when playing B major with hammer-ons, slides, etc. This phrase mainly uses the second, third and fourth strings. If the tempo is off when you mute the notes, practicing with a metronome is effective. In the latter half of the arpeggio, you can mute the right hand a little and play with less distortion to make the chord sound nicer. In the first half, the inner voices don't move much, but the root moves. In terms of nuance, I think it would be closer to the way the artist plays if you mute the third and fourth strings a little and let only the second string produce its original sound. The second half uses octave playing, but if you want to get closer to Ken's nuances, you can create a similar atmosphere by slowing down the rhythm just a little. The final phrase of the chorus can be made closer to the characteristic chord sound of the original song by mixing the second string with uppicking. This is the flow of the first verse. The explanation of the second verse is the same, so I will skip to the guitar solo. This solo has a lot of legato phrases, which can often be heard in Ken's solos. The opening pattern of the solo and the hammering pattern from the fifth string to the first string are phrases that can be applied when copying other Lark songs, so it's a good idea to memorize them through repeated practice. I think you can play the beginning of the phrase the back eighth note of the fourth beat smoothly by starting with uppicking. Also, be careful not to waver from the rhythm when hammering the third string. Here, it's a good idea to keep the beat yourself so that the rhythm doesn't go out of sync with the syncopated phrases and the pulling on the second and third strings. This pattern ascends the phrase that appears at the end of the first and second choruses. When changing chords while ascending the second and third strings. If you mix in the open second string, it will have a nuance closer to the original song. The ending is the same as intro 2, with a slide to build momentum and a strong mute on the last M to close the song. This concludes the song explanation. Thank you for watching this far, and I'll see you in the next video.